Hi National 5, I'm going to be talking you through the National 5 Art and Design paper and giving you some tips on how to prepare for your exam. Your exam paper will be out of 40 marks. It will be split into two main sections, the expressive section and the design section. Section 1 will be Expressive Art Studies, which is worth 20 marks. In this section, you will answer question 1, which is about the artist you have studied, and you will answer one other question, which will be the unseen question. In section 2, you will answer question 7, which is about the designer you have studied, and one other question, which will be the unseen design question. A helpful tip is to split your time wisely. You get 1 hour and 20 minutes for the exam, so I would suggest spending roughly 40 minutes on each section. That works out to be about 20 minutes per question, which will help ensure you have enough time to cover all the questions within the time frame. When you are revising, you can practice answering the questions within this set time. We are now going to look at question number 1. The question will have part A, which is 6 marks, and part B, 4 marks. Part A will ask, identify one artwork by an artist you have studied with reference to the selected artwork, comment on, and it will then give you 3 prompts. Now firstly, you're going to answer this question by writing who the artist is that you have studied, and what the name of the painting is, and the year it was painted. This is very important and lets the marker know the artwork you're talking about. For example, you could say, the artwork I have studied is Still Life with Spoons by Ralph Goings, created in 1998. You will then comment on the different prompts. These vary from year to year, but the first prompt will be one from either composition arrangement or media handling and/or techniques. The second prompt will be a visual element, which could be colour, line, tone, texture, shape and/or form, or pattern. The third prompt will be one from scale, style, subject matter imagery, mood and atmosphere. In this past paper example, the prompts chosen are media handling and/or techniques, line, mood and atmosphere. You must comment on each prompt to gain full marks. I recommend writing 2 comments for each prompt, but the marks don't have to be split evenly. For example, you could have 3 comments for media handling and/or techniques, 1 comment for line, and 2 comments for mood and atmosphere, which equals 6 total. It is important that you have at least 1 comment for each prompt and have a total of 6 comments. You'll notice that it says you must justify each point you make. This means you should follow the structure you've learned in class for writing your answers by using the point, evidence and explain format. You won't get a mark for just stating a point. You must justify it by providing evidence and an explanation to earn the mark. Please refer to the revision materials your class teacher has given you about your artist. It will contain all the comments and points you can make for the exam. If you're not sure where to access it, speak with your class teacher so that they can help you. Part B is worth 4 marks. It's predictable and does not change from year to year, so it's an easy 4 marks that you will know will come up in the exam. The question will ask you to identify 2 influences on this artist and describe how these influences can be seen in any of their work. For this question, you'll get 2 marks per comment. To answer this, you should write 2 separate comments, 1 for each influence. For each comment, make sure you follow the point, evidence, explain format that you have been doing in class. If you do this for both influences, you can gain the full 4 marks. Make sure to refer to the study materials your teacher has given you, as it will have a section on influences where you can see the point, evidence and explain for each one. You should pick 2 influences and revise them really well so that you know them inside out. This will help you secure all 4 marks in the exam. I am now going to discuss question 2 to 6, which are the unseen artworks. Although you're given questions 2 to 6, you're only going to answer 1 unseen artwork. Look at all 5 options and then select 1 to answer. There will be a range of artworks to choose from, including paintings, mixed media art, photography and sculpture. I recommend going with artworks that you're familiar with, such as paintings, as we have been studying them in class. Please do not answer a sculpture question if you have not been practicing them in class, because the vocabulary might be slightly different. When you're looking through the artworks, don't just pick an artwork just because you like it. Look at the prompts in the question underneath, which it is asking you to comment on, and make sure they are prompts which you feel confident talking about. Make sure to always read underneath the artwork. This will tell you the name of the artist, the artwork and the size, and it will also tell you the material the artwork was created with. The artwork I have chosen for this example was created with oil paint and collage on canvas. I know this because it tells me underneath the artwork. The question is in 2 parts. Part A is worth 8 marks and asks you to comment on the artwork, referring to 3 prompts. To get the full 8 marks, you need 2 or 3 comments per prompt, but my advice would be to write 3 comments for each prompt. Even though that's an extra comment, it can help in case one of your other comments isn't strong enough. Make sure each comment follows a point, evidence, explain format that you have been using in class to gain full marks. In this past paper example, the question asked to comment on the artwork, referring to composition, colour, media handling and/or techniques. For the composition prompt, I could talk about points including focal point, leading lines, viewpoint, rule of thirds, etc. I am going to give an example answer. Point. In the composition, the artist has used leading lines. Evidence. You can see this by the lines created in the checkered tablecloth. Explain. These lines lead the viewer's eye into the middle of the artwork, drawing attention to the centre of the artwork. I would then write a further 2 separate comments on composition before moving on to colour, then moving on to media handling and/or techniques. Make sure you have at least 8 comments in total. For part B, the question asks, what is your opinion on the style of this artwork? Give 2 justified reasons, and this is worth 2 marks. For this question, you can give your opinion on the style of the artwork. However, to gain full marks, you need to back your opinion with justified reasons. For example, I think the artwork has a pop art style to it because of the bright colours and flat shapes. I also think it is styled this way due to the collage aspect, which is often used by pop artists. The combination of bright colour and collage gives the artwork a pop art style. Make sure you give 2 reasons in response to the question and make sure you explain why you have this opinion. I am now going to move on to section 2. In this section you will answer question 7 and then 1 unseen design question. I will start with question 7A, which is worth 6 marks. You will have studied as a designer with your class teacher and you must answer this question by stating the name of the designer and the name of the design as well as the year it was made. For example, you could say, the design I have studied is German bracelet by Peter Chang, created in 2006. It is important you state this information so that the marker knows what design you're writing about. You will be asked to answer 3 prompts, and it is worth 6 marks. You should make a total of 6 comments. To gain full marks, you must respond to all of the prompts in the question. I suggest writing 2 per prompt. You need to justify each point you make. You can do this by following the point, evidence, explain structure you have learned in class. The prompts that can come up include fitness for purpose, target market audience, visual impact, materials and/or techniques, function, style, inspiration, and wearability. Make sure you feel familiar with each of these prompts. You will be getting practice of these in class with your teacher. Part B is worth 4 marks. Like in the expressive section, it's predictable and does not change from year to year. So it's an easy 4 marks as you know the question is guaranteed to come up in the exam. The question will ask you to identify 2 influences on this designer and describe how these influences can be seen in any of their work. For this question, you will get 2 marks per comment. To answer this, you should write 2 separate comments, one for each influence. For each comment, make sure you follow the point, evidence, explain format that you've been doing in class to justify your answer. If you do this for the 2 influences, you can gain the full 4 marks. All the information you need to know about your designer will be in the study materials given to you by your class teacher. Please ask your teacher where to find this if you do not know. You will then answer one question from question 8 to 12, which are the unseen design questions. You're only going to answer one. When picking a question, you'll see 5 different design questions to choose from. These will include jewellery design, graphic design such as a poster, costume design, product design, and architecture. I recommend choosing a question which is similar to the type of design questions you have been studying in class. For example, you may choose jewellery design if you've been looking at jewellery design in class. Always read the prompts in the question to see what you feel most confident answering. I would stay away from answering product design or architecture questions, and you may not be as familiar with the terminology used in these prompts. For this past paper example, I'm going to pick jewellery design as we have been studying jewellery design in class. Before I answer the question, I am reading underneath the image to find out more information about it. I can see that it's a bracelet that was made between 1899 and 1900s. Its materials include diamond, gold, silver, gemstones and enamel, and its size is 7 centimetres in diameter. Part A is worth 8 marks, so aim to write 3 comments for each prompt. This gives a total of 9, but can be useful if one of your points is weak. Having an extra point can help get you all the marks. Remember to justify all your points by using the point, evidence, explain format. I'm going to give you an example answer for wearability, which is the first prompt. Point: the design looks like it would be comfortable to wear. Evidence: this is because almost all of the inner surface of the design is smooth. Explain: this means it would not irritate the user's skin. Make sure you are answering at least 8 full PEE points in total to gain all the marks. Moving on to Part B. Part B is worth 2 marks. Part B will ask about your opinion and you must give 2 justified reasons. In this example it asks, who could be the target market for this jewellery? Give 2 justified reasons. You want to give your opinion on the target market with 2 justified reasons. For example, I could say, point: I think the target market could be wealthy people. Evidence: this is because the designer has used the materials diamond and gold. Explain: these materials are expensive, which would make it expensive to buy, and would be for people who have disposable income. My second comment could be, point: I think it could also be targeted at people who want to make a statement and stand out from the crowd. Evidence: this is because it has an unusual design with a lot going on. Explain: this would draw attention to the wearer. Part B varies and will not always be about target market, and it of course also depends on the design you've chosen to write about. That is the end of the exam paper. Here I have included some helpful websites for revising. One of the most important is the SQA website, where you can find past papers and marking instructions. Please note that past papers before 2024 are slightly outdated because the exam used to require you to study 2 artists and 2 designers, but now you only need to focus on 1 artist and 1 designer. However, papers before 2024 are still really useful for understanding the types of questions that would come up and how to structure your answers. Another helpful resource is BBC Bitesize, which has clear explanations and examples for all the different areas of art and design. In particular, there's a page called BBC Bitesize about the exam. This will give you a run-through of exactly what is in the exam, as well as giving example answers where you can see how to pick up marks. BBC Bitesize also has pages covering all the different visual elements, which are useful if you are unsure of any art terminology. Please speak to your teachers, we're here to help you, so don't hesitate to ask if you need help or any advice. Thank you for watching.